Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortewada. In this video, we will learn about Next.js event handlers. So how these event handlers works in Next.js. Whenever you have a event handler, the behavior of Next.js will be different. So for example, what we will do here is we'll learn about event handlers first. What is an event handler? Event handler is something like on click, on change, on input, on focus, all these events of JavaScript where the user can interact and that we can listen. They are called as event handlers. And how to inject the event handlers for our user interactions in Next.js. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. Here, what we'll do is I'll just go into SRC, and inside the SRC we have something called as a login. Let me go into register or login. Let me go into any of one file. Let me go into the register and inside the page.js. So what I'll do is I'll just add a div to wrap all the content in one parent element. So what I'll do is I'll add a button, and for this button I'll use something called as a register and save this. Now on clicking on this register, I want to show some console. So what I'll do is click handler is something which I have added. Now I'll make use of const click handler is equal to an arrow function, and let me write a console.log of click handler, save this. Now let's see how it behaves. Let me go back and clear this off. Let me go into our registration. So we don't have a direct link for that. So let me use a register. Now your app got crashed and it is taking the app crashed. Why? Because already we have created a error.js file. So if you see here, we have an error.js file. So this error.js is helping out. For now, what I'll do is I'll just rename this to underscore error.js, and now you can see you got an error directly onto the screen. If you want to use this error.js and if you want to check the error messages, it is bit tricky. The thing is, you have to go into the console and you have to understand the errors. And finding a proper error from this whole console, it's big complex. So that's why what I'm doing is I'm just making this error.js to underscore so that it will not have a predefined error.js file or a fallback function, so that it will show the error directly on the UI. So it is showing the error on the UI. What is the error? Let's see. Event handlers can't be passed to the client component props. That means it is expecting this particular component should be a client component. Otherwise, it will not work out because you have some set of user interactions. Whenever you have some set of user interaction, it always expects your component should be a client component. So let me put this directive and save this. Now whole component has been rendered properly. So by this, what we understood is whenever you try to have any of the user interaction or any of the handlers, then it is our responsibility to make that particular component as a client component. Now, for example, instead of using on click, you can use on focus as well. On focus is also a type of event. So let me save this, go here and clear this off, refresh, and still you are not able to see any problem. But when you see this or when you comment this, let me save this, you can see the errors. That means all the event handlers should be handled only in the client side components. So that's why whatever is needed on the server side, that should be maintained as a separate code, and whatever the things which you want to make it as a client component, make it as a separate component. So in this case, what we can do is we can make this button as a separate component, and remaining code will be acting like a server component. For example, what I'll do is I'll just go here and I'll move all the button related stuff into the components. So let me go into the components and let me go into the components and create a folder called as button folder. And what this button will do is you can just add a file called as button.js, or let me make it as capital B and hit enter. Now what this will do is it will export this button. How we can export default button, and this is a function. So let me use function button and let me return the button statement. For example, here I want to capture this button. Let me put it over here, and it has a handler. Let me cut this and put it over here to the handler, and let me pass the props. if you want. And let me cut this client and put it over here. So now this button alone will become a client component, and remaining all the stuff will become a server component. So let me use button and like this, save this and format. So now save this, close this, and you can see this register component, whatever the things you have on the register component, that complete stuff will be acting like a server component, and only this button will act like a client component. And however you want to design this client component, you can do it. For now I'm showing it as a sample. Let me go here, and you can see it is working as expected. And once you click on this, you got the click handler. So this register component is coming from server, and this button component, it is coming from our client. So this client component, that means this client component will not have proper server side rendering. Instead, it will render on the browser DOM. Whereas all the remaining content of this register component will be rendered in the Next.js, that is server, and it will showcase on the UI. So that is the only difference between these two. So here what we understand is, whenever we are trying to create some set of interactive components, always create them as a molecular or atomic way of implementation. That means it should be some minor components or small components which should be a client components, whereas remaining all the stuff should be maintained in the server, and that is nothing but a server component. So that is how you can use your event handlers in Next.js. In the upcoming video, we will see how to navigate from one page to another page by using this event handlers. So that's it for this video. If you like my explanation, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.